we're gonna need that later. That's gonna be the drill bit. Actually, I may actually need a smaller bit too. Ah, there they are. I knew I had some someplace. All right. Yeah, we'll still use that one. So, alrighty. So, what I'm doing right now is I'm getting ready to clamp these all together so I can find out where the marks for all my legs and my cross members are going to be. So, that's what I'm doing now. So 84 inches. So we need to go 28 inches here. And this is going to be right there. And 28 inches from there is going to be right there. And I'm almost positive 28 inches in between. So that's my all right. Now I have all my markings where my holes are going to go. And I also, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 holes that need to be drilled out. I'm going to do that now. I'm clamping everything together so it stays straight and we don't have any issues. Okay. Now, alrighty, let's see if this does the job. Hopefully this is enough bit. Actually, I need a bigger bit. I hope I have one. Bam, there it is. Alrighty. So, deep enough. All right, in case you're wondering, what I'm doing is I'm putting a piece of tape on here to give me a guide stop so I know how far down in here to drill these 8 holes. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my drill, and I'm going to drill these holes, and then I'm going to go ahead and start gluing and screwing things together. All right. Well, this hole is what happens when you don't put a pilot hole in or a smaller hole and start with that. This one kind of walked off a little bit, so I'm going to start the new hole, which went much faster. This bit is very dull. It's still a good bit. I just have to sharpen it. And what I have to do is just find a little bit bigger bit, get my depth. I should be able to go from there. All right. Should be able to tape this one. Are you kidding me? Much better when you have bits that are sharp. Don't think that these are going to fit down in there because I think I need a slightly bigger hole. I do. But that takes the bulk of it out. I think these holes are perfectly big enough for all the screws to get down in there, and they are. And they're deep enough too. Probably could go deeper on these two here. Let's see. No, deep as it needs to be. Now we just got to get one big enough so the threaded part will actually go down in there. I don't know if I want to use that one, but you know, since it doesn't have to take out as much material, it may work. But I'm going to try it back here away from the edge. And that's still not big enough. So let's look for a bigger one. One that will not go down in that hole. No, that's still small. I think this is going to prove to be interesting. We may, let's see. Well, that one's that size too. Oh my goodness. Do I not have a drill big enough to do that? Well, this is what we're going to do. Let's just go ahead and bore these all out. All right, let me get some of the confusion out of here. Where's my dust? There it is. All right, here we go. There's some of that. Now, all righty. So we'll try this hole. Not quite there, but you know what? Yeah, it's real close. Let's try this. You know, if we wallow that hole out a little bit, she'll fit down in there. Don't take much. So. We call that Southern engineering. Another form of it is, if it don't fit, get a bigger hammer. But in this case, it's drill a bigger hole. All right, I think that'll do it. Alrighty. When in doubt, get a bigger hammer. Yes, sirree. Sweet. Now, if you've been watching, I've simply been screwing these pieces together because the mounted screws I'm putting here will be plenty strong. There's no need for any glue at this point. And it also gives me the option to add and remove stuff if I need to. What I'm doing, these screws will go through two pieces and just put a little bit into the third piece. So that'll allow me to pull these outside pieces off and then take the inner pieces and attach them to the center, the cross members as I need to. What I'm doing is I'm screwing one screw at the top and bottom 2 inches in, and then I'm alternating about every 10 inches. I'm putting a screw one at the top, and then the next 10 inches I'm putting one toward the bottom, kind of like you do if you do your screwing together like headers and things like that. Same concept will work here. Well, may have just had enough. See, and it's still together and it'll work. Sweet goodness, sometimes. But what we're gonna do so we don't This will be 1 and 1. This will be 2 and 2. Now we'll get the right board back in the right spot. Alrighty. It's definitely time to do a little cleanup. There we go. And this one will be 2. All right. Now, all we need to do is just about 3 screws per side and we should be good. So, two, this will be, 2 will go here. We'll put 1 over here. All right. All right. Now starts the fun. The best thing to do is, oh heck, we'll just flip it over. Why not? We should be good. Now all we gotta do is make sure there's no stuff for these boards to sit on. Sawdust, nails, any matter of things that could just make for a bad day. Alrighty, so make sure our screw holes are out because that's where it is going. All right. Well, that was a little bit of a uppy. Now down here on this, I'm using these construction screws. They're like I think they're 1 5/8. So they go through, as you can see here. They work well when you have 3 layers, but when you only have 2, they go through. On the rest of the cabinets, we use them pocket screws, which are made for cabinets, and they do very well. So just there we go. Here, all we're trying to do is just get everything nice and tight, good tolerances, flat and straight. You know, right now it's starting to try to bow because it's going out. But so what I'm going to do here to keep us from having an issue, I'm going to go ahead and take care of them, because down here it's already out probably a good 3/8 of an inch, and it's out of whack. So I'll do this, and then this should line up. Yeah, you look down through here, it's got a little bit of a bow to it, so this should take care of the problem. And I'm putting these things in so that they're going dead center, or at least I'm trying. All right, so I'm going to pull this. We're going to do the top one first. There we go. And then we'll do the bottom one. And actually, I'm going to have to go back to that center one and take the screws out of one side, because it's actually got a little bit of a bow in there. So and probably ought to put a square on that, because that was not marked, and it is definitely out of whack a little bit. So there we go. Well, about a full 3/8 out. Even on stuff like this, you gotta check it. You'll see now that one's on the money. So we don't even have to strap that one in. By simply strapping this one in, we took a little bit of bow out of it. Oh man. I'm just going to put it up there and make sure. And there we go. There we go. Yep. It'll work for me. All right. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to attach these, one in each cavity and one in the center down the, to bring this together. I'm going to have to put one more here because there's a little bit of a gap there. Then maybe the main thing is I'm trying to keep everything nice and tight. All right, that seemed to work better, so I'll put 4 in each cavity. Now that's done. Let's go ahead and get some of these feet in here. I figure that one's probably going to be out about like that. And that one's going to be screwed all the way down, so these two will be somewhere in between. But we'll get those screwed out later. And this is also part of the reason why we're not going to put the top on until after we get this. That way we can reach down and we can screw them, because these ones in the back, if you don't have them down, you're not going to be able to get to them and get them level. Alrighty. All right, so let's just go ahead and straighten this up a little bit. However, all right. So, for the time being, we're going to screw these screws in. At least a couple of them. About 3 probably. Well, I figured I would take and give you a look at what this looked like. I did some measuring on the wall to try to do my layout and get it the way I needed to. This line right here represents where the edge of the countertop is going to be, and then this is the edge where the cabinet is going to be. This line here represents the base, where the toe kick base is supposed to stand, and then back to this line here is where the base bottom piece is going to come to. Now, as usual, when you plan things, you plan the best of your ability, and everything's good until that first shot is fired, as the adage in war goes. So basically what happened was, when I did my measurements and I cut and I got my baseboard off, and I went ahead and put this down and got it up to the wall, and I soon realized that having it pushed up all the way to the wall, there's a bevel on the concrete that goes up, and also there's a gap here of about 3/4 of an inch. So basically the changes that I'm going to have to make is basically everything's leveled out with this thing and it's scooted up against the wall, and for the time being that's where it's going to be. Then the base is going to basically come and sit on this, get lined up with this mark here with a gap here, and then I will screw it in place up against the wall. And of course that's going to change my my spacing on my front of my toe kick, but it's not going to be enough that we're going to really be able to notice anything. It'll still look like a regular toe kick in the front, and they'll have the same on the sides. It's just the only difference is the toe kick base is basically sitting out from this wall about between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch, because walls and everything are never straight. But what will happen is the base bottom piece of plywood is going to sit on here and slide up against the wall and screw to the toe kick bottom, and that will give us a nice level and place to set our cabinets on, and we can screw them to that, and then we'll be able to screw them to the wall. So until next time, that's pretty much it. In the next I will probably have a little short video of just doing, setting up for the pocket holes. I do have a little pocket hole jig that I'm going to have to kind of figure out how to mount it to a work surface for temporarily, so we can do the pocket holes on the bigger pieces. but I'm not going to take up a big portion of time on that. It's just going to be a short little bit. And then hopefully we'll start putting some of the cabinet bodies together in the next segment as well. If you haven't checked it out, I already uploaded a little travel video that we did while we was on that extended week of vacation. So just make sure you check that out, and until next time, be safe.